Okay, we are here with a little bonus video. We've moved outside. Rocky does not like going in the car. And some dogs get motion sickness, just like some people get seasick. Also for Rocky, the times he basically spent the first 4 years of his life tethered to something, so he probably didn't have a lot of experience in cars, and cars are hard for a lot of dogs. And there's a little kid. But also, now when he gets in the car, he goes to the vet, or he goes to boarding. He goes to places where he probably doesn't really like it. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can teach a dog to like going in the car if they have a fear of the car. So I have the Guardian basically taking for a little bit of a walk, and she's going to appear in a second. She's going to walk around the car and come around here, and he can go around that way. And then basically what she's going to do is he's too fearful to get in the car himself. And so what she's going to do is she's going to pick him up, and she's going to have him on her lap, and then she's going to do a little bit of an ear massage. I'm going to explain what she's doing in a sec. There's a book called Ttouch, or the Ttouch, and basically it's all about acupressure for dogs to help them feel comfortable. So you see he's uncomfortable, so she's just going to, we prefer him to jump up, but he's not going to be able to do that because he's just so petrified of it. This is a technique called flooding. I don't do a lot of it because it is a little bit of force, but we have to help him get past a threshold. So now she's got some fried or some freeze-dried beef liver on the ledge there. She's not going to try to give him that, but as an indicator, when you're doing things where your dog might be fearful, if it'll take a treat or if it'll sit down, those are two indications it feels pretty comfortable about the situation. So that's like almost our litmus test. So when we get in the car, normally we just get in the car, we close the doors, and we start it, and we drive. And then we have motion sickness, or the motion is a problem, and all the rest of these things, and it's just too much. It's overwhelming for the dog. So basically, as a dog psychologist, what I like to do is I like to break things down into individual steps and help the dog practice one step in the easiest version possible over and over. Normally, he gets in the car in the other seats. So this is different. It doesn't have the baggage of getting in the car the other way. So the Ttouch, what she's doing is if my hand is the ear, you're taking your thumb and forefinger on the front and back side of the ear, and I'm basically running in the middle of the ear, and then I'm going to do strokes where I'm gradually getting closer and closer to the edge. And then I go to the other side and do the same sort of thing. This pressure can help, it's slightly distracting for the dog, but it is soothing for the dog. Now, if you pet a dog that's fearful, you'll make it more fearful, but this is a little bit more therapeutic. So you can hold the ear, you can just use one hand. You want to find whatever you're comfortable with. Now, if we see he just dripped a little bit of a drool onto her pant leg, he is a little bit stressed for this, and it's going to happen. We don't want to make it overwhelming so he's panicked. So I can see that his pupils are not super dilated. They're a little bit big, and that's an indication. But we want to, we're going to have to help him get through this threshold. So we're going to have him experience some stuff that's a little bit uncomfortable. We want to make it a manageable, reasonable amount without being too much. So what I'm having her do is right now, she picked him up, she sat down, she's doing a little ear massage to distract him. And then in a second, she's going to go ahead and put him back down. And then she's going to go for a little bit of a mini walk. We're just going to walk about 100 feet and turn around, and then she's going to circle the car again. So what we're doing is we're helping the dog practice, and sitting down, that's actually really good. And he'll be probably happy to walk. And you probably see him, you can follow her with him. So you see he's got a little bit of trot, his tail swinging a little bit. He feels good. Oh, finally it's done. I can get away from that. So now he did a little bit of hard work, and then he gets a reward. And for dogs, because they process things by literally moving forward, getting him to walk a little bit after this is a nice rehabilitation thing. So as he comes back, once he comes down on the street, you should see a little bit of a bounce in his step. Now, when we get to a certain point closer to the car, he will kind of shut down because he's going to recognize what's going on. But as we practice this, that shutdown should get less and less because we're not culminating it with an actual drive. So there, he didn't shut down at all. Last time he kind of got stiff when he was in here. Now, if you do have a dog that's fearful of the car, I just saw we have a couple other dogs that are nearby. Hello. That's all right. So again, he kind of shuts down a little bit. So she's going to prevent him from going anywhere. There we go. And just stop right there. So if he does that lunge, then just kind of stop and give him a second to reset. And try not to pet. That's very common. You lay your hand on him, but don't do this. Now, we just saw a couple black labs that came by in another family. He has a couple buddy dogs. It might not be a bad idea to have those dogs come over, especially if it can jump up in the car, and have it jump up, give it a treat, let it jump down, and let Rocky just observe the whole thing. So he sees the other dog didn't have a problem going in, and we're also adding the dog's scent to the car, which makes it also a little bit more appealing. All right, so he's settled down a little bit. Let's see if we can go ahead and pick him up. Tongue lick can be a sign of stress. There we go. Now what we don't want to see him do is squirming and trying to get away, which he's not. And so you see he's got his hand a little bit against her thigh a little bit, but he's calmer now, and he licked his lips a little bit, and we'll probably get a little bit of the drool again. But again, we're just recreating this one step over and over without culminating anything else. Now I'm going to describe the other steps because we could do this all day long. The Guardians filming this actually asked if this is a one-day deal. I would love it if it was, but it's most likely if it's a deep phobia, it's going to be a while. And when you're doing it, make sure you're going kind of slower. So each ear stroke should be about 2 seconds. If you pet really fast, you can make your dog a little bit more anxious. So the first step is going to be just what she's doing here. We're just getting the dog used to sitting in the back of the car. Eventually it'd be nice if we get the dog to jump up, but if she has to continue helping him up, that's okay. We want to keep practicing this until he gets in the car and he's pretty relaxed. And he doesn't quite shut down as he's going towards the car. We want a nice body mechanic of being relaxed. The next stage would be actually to pick him up and put him next to her on, and you're not going to do any of these things, but putting him next to her so he's in the car, not necessarily on top of her. I think on top of her right now is comforting for him, that contact. But eventually, we'd like him to jump up and sit next to her. And we're going to keep on doing this until we can get to the point where he jumps in there. And we might have to, sometimes have to put steps in there so the dog can get in there. He's pretty athletic. I'm sure he can get up there, but he doesn't want to get up there. And so sometimes making it a little bit easier to begin with. And if you have to pick him up and put him next to you and then you sit down next to him, that's fine. Keep it each break at first about 10 or 15 seconds, and then we go for the little mini walk. But the idea is we'd like to start elongating. Instead of 10, 15 seconds, now it's 30 seconds. But if you go to 30 and he starts wiggling, then back up and go to like 20 seconds. Always back up a step if the dog panics or shows you it's uncomfortable. The next step, once we get to the point where he can jump in the car, or you can pick him up and put in there and he seems pretty relaxed, or he will take a treat. The next step would be to close the door, and then open it right back up and let him out and go for a walk. So now we might, the first couple times you do this, we might want to actually have you in there with him. So somebody else closes the door, we wait 1 second. So if we put him in there by himself, then he might feel abandoned. So this way we put him in there, we sit in there for a second, the door opens and we go for a little bit of a walk and everything's good. And we keep on repeating that, and then eventually we're going to start elongating it's closed for now 2 seconds, then 5 seconds, then 10 seconds. Once we get up to about close to around a minute, at that point we can start thinking about possibly doing it where we are just putting it and closing it where he's in there and we're outside. Now the first time you do that, close it and don't even latch it, just close it and then lower it back up and let the dog do a little bit of a lap, the little walking lap. Now at the end of each, however many times you're going to practice this, after this I'd like you to take him for a longer walk. So the end of this, I got to put up with this, and then we go for a really long walk. But as he is more experienced with this, he's going to get more comfortable because we're not going for a ride yet. So once we get to the point where you can actually close it and latch it, and then you're going to wait a little second before you open it, in 2 seconds, 5 seconds. When you can have him in there and he's not panicking for about a minute, then the next stage would be to repeat the whole process, but this time putting him in the back seat or the front seat, wherever you want him to be where you're driving. Now all we're doing is putting him in there and then having him sit there for a second, then we can let him out. At this point, we shouldn't have to have him sitting on our lap when we're going in the actual chairs. So we're just going to put him in there and just kind of stand there to block and not let him out. And if he protests, we'd like to wait for him to stop protesting, then let him exit on his own so he can actually do the dismounting. And then go for your little mini walk. And keep doing that until eventually you can get him to go in there and he will take a treat in the back seat. Then put him in there, close the door, go around to the other door, or have somebody already there with him. So ideally, maybe you would have him approach and you would be in the car, or you'd put him there and then somebody else would stand there on this side and you'd go around to the passenger side. So you're sitting in this next to him. And then you close both doors and you sit there for a minute and you can do the Tellington touch and pet him. And again, help him practice being calm. That's good. I don't see any drips from his nose and he's lowering his head. So the more passive and relaxed they are, that's a good indication. So the next stage is you're going to keep on sitting until you can get him to take the treats. Next stage, do you normally want him in the front or in the middle or the back when you're driving?
Probably either the middle or the back.
Okay. So now we've achieved both the middle and the back. The next stage would be to actually have maybe while you're sitting with him, somebody gets in the car and turns it on and turns it off immediately. We're not going to, you're just on, off. The vibrations are probably going to make him unsettled. And you keep on doing that step until we turn it on. He doesn't look unsettled and doesn't start pacing or drooling or getting anxious. And the next stage is we would put it in gear and then immediately put it back out of gear. Now, I should back up a little bit. When we do the stage where we start the car, we're start the car, turn it off, and then you get out of the car and then take your walk for the first 1 or 2 times. After that, you want to start the car, let it turn it off for a second and linger there for about 2 or 3 seconds. Then get out of the car and do it. And you want to keep on doing that until you're lingering in the car after it started for about close to a minute. And then you can start increasing the length of time the car is running, and make sure the radio is off as well. No air conditioner, just the vibrations of the car is all we want him to hear. And we're going to progressively elongate that till we get to the 1 minute mark. And then each time we get a little bit of a walk afterwards, and when we completely get done, we walk around the parade field or whatever he does. The next stage is you're going to put it in gear, and he'll feel the car move a little bit, but keep your foot on the brake so it doesn't actually move, and then put it back in gear and turn the engine off, get out, and then take your walk. And then when you're doing that, you're going to put it in gear, and you're going to keep on pausing until you get to the point where you're like at 1 minute and going for the walk afterwards. The last stage, it would be to start it, back it up like a foot, and then put it back forward, and then get out and do the same thing until a point where you can get all the way back here. At that point, we're going to let the car idle and drive us just around this little, we have a little kind of neighborhood here, just one block thing. And we're doing this at an idle. So we're not using any gas or any brakes. And when you do start braking, do it very progressive so it's just, he doesn't even feel the sensation. And no sudden movements back and forth. And after this, let him walk. And after a while, you're going to start elongating that and going further and further. Then you can start using your accelerator a little bit. And the idea is, again, we're just making this really easy, step by step by step, and not going to the next step until he indicates that he's very comfortable by body mechanic being relaxed, taking a treat, not drooling. He's drooling a little bit now, and that looks like a smile. That's probably a little bit more of a stress, but I can see his pupils are not dilated from here. And his body language, he looks more relaxed than when we first started doing this exercise. All right, well, this is Rocky, and if you have a dog fearful about the car, these are some steps and tricks you can use to help the dog feel comfortable and confident and stop being motion sick in the car.